Hey folks, welcome back. So today we are at least going to start into the process of working on the exclusion fence at the very back of the farm. So we are up here in the back pasture, and over there that's the burn pile that we were working on earlier this year, and as you can see we've got more stuff back on there. And this is the backwoods, so this goes all the way up to the top of the mountain. And back here we've got another exclusion fence that's going to go in, and so basically this is just to keep the cattle from heading off into national forest going up and over the mountain there. Now the process of getting this thing in has already been started in the real exciting stuff of figuring out where it's going to go through there, trying to pick the best path that takes out the fewest number of trees, and then along with getting it cleared. And that's where some of that stuff came from. And then some of the stuff that was a little bit nicer we set aside, and it's not nearly big enough to mill, but it's definitely big enough to cut up into firewood for throwing into the wood stove down at the mill house. Now previously there had been like a 2 or 3 strand barbed wire fence back up in here to keep cattle from going up, and it was in pretty bad disrepair. So that has been pulled out. My dad's done some work getting prepped and ready to go while I've been working on some of these other projects, and some of it was hooked into trees, other stuff it was hooked into T-posts, and so those have all been pulled out. So we're gonna see if we can get the truck up here, old trusty rusty 2-wheel drive. We got the chains on there, so hopefully we're gonna be able to get up in there, get around all right without getting stuck. We're gonna pick up all the T-posts and all the little bits of barbed wire and all that stuff, try and get that cleaned out, and then the next step we'll be able to start throwing some posts in here, hopefully. All right, well that actually went relatively well. I wasn't entirely sure how well the truck was gonna get around up through the woods there, but we made it all the way across. There's the other property line right over there at the bottom of this hill. And actually where we popped out over there is the old logging trail video from when I went through and cleared a path up through the woods on that side. That's where we popped out down through there. And I think that's probably the first time I've been down through that little section in like 5 years, because for a good long while the right-of-way here, the MVP right-of-way, this was all torn up, and there was like a 4 or 5 foot drop over there where my trail came out through there. So while they were all held up in legal stuff or whatever, and the right-of-way was just sitting bare here, I wasn't able to use that. So I think it's probably like the first time in a good 5 years that I've been on that little section. But anywho, this is what we ended up with. So a whole mess of barbed wire and maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 T-posts in there. So those get put to use someplace around here. We actually can't use any of those T-posts for anything with NRCS, because all their stuff requires that it be brand new materials. So if we do end up using any T-post on any of the fences around through here, they will have to be brand new T-post, and we can't make use of any of these guys. All right, so we're once again back up here in the very backwoods with the truck again. Again, gotta have those chains on there. Two-wheel drive just does not cut it to get up here. And this time we brought some stuff with us. Namely, we brought some gates. So we're right over here at the property line over here. And one thing that was sort of interesting when we were putting this in was you'll notice that our brace is not where the existing fence is. And that's because when the farm was surveyed right after we got it, as it turns out, this fence line is actually like 3 or 4 feet that way of where the line. So we're just gonna probably fill in here with maybe some boards or something like that. That way the post we put in is right on the line, and there's no issues with that. So anyways, we got braces in, we got all those in at this point. I have not gone through and tightened them up yet, so that's one of our projects for the day. And then of course the other is to get our gates out, and then if we have time, I also brought chainsaws to work on a certain tree that's kind of leaning out over where the fence line is going to be. So first thing we're going to do is get one of these gates out, and I think you can see braces back there someplace, and that's where our first gate's going to be, fairly close to this property line. So I forgot that I'd already done these two. So we already got the brace wire all tightened up on these guys on either side here. And then of course, as you can tell, we've got another gate that's going in here. So actually, all we gotta do at this stop is just drop one of these guys off. On to the next one. All right, so this guy here is actually a corner. There's no gate, no property line, nothing like that here. We weren't able to quite get a straight shot in between all of our gates and stuff, so we were just somewheres down around in there dropping the gate off. Then we got this guy, and this is just the corner where they're coming this way and then it's kind of coming in. So our wire is going to be on the outside of this post, and then we're going to head up the hill just a little bit up there, and we have another corner where it kind of zigs back the other direction before it goes to the third and final gate. So we are almost to the other side of the farm, and this is the side where things started getting really interesting with putting posts in. And by interesting, I mean rocky, lots and lots and lots of rocks. And for one of them, we weren't even able to get in a normal brace like we have on that side, an H brace. We ended up having to do a diagonal brace because we just could not get in our inner brace post over here. And this is an approved brace by NRCS for their specs that they have for what we're doing with the grant and fencing through that. So this is acceptable, but it's a little bit different. It's a little weird, and it doesn't look quite as strong, quite as beefy as the full H brace, but you know, it's all we could get in down for this one. And then of course we got our gate right through here. We got our other H brace. And then we'll come on right over here. And this is going to be kind of interesting putting fence through here because the ground goes down and up and down again and starts going back up. And then I think you might be able to see an H brace somewhere over there. That one, just getting in the one that's on the property line, we had to try about 10 or 12 times to get that post in. It's really horribly rocky over there, and that wasn't originally where we were going to put the brace over there. It was going to be like 20 or 30 feet downhill, but that's where we could get the post in, so that's where the brace went. All right, so since we got all of our braces done and we still have some light left, we're back up here between our two corner change braces. I think you can see the other one down there. And what we've got is we've got a big old cherry tree here, and it's got a branch that's coming right out, right over top of where our fence is going. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's got quite a few dead parts in it already. So my guess is that the whole thing's probably gonna be dying off here before too long. Now, I'm not gonna try taking down the whole tree. My plan is just to take out this branch right here, and that'll probably drop right down on top of where our fence line's gonna go. We'll get that out of there, and hopefully the rest of the tree will be fine. Alrighty folks, well, my camera battery decided to die right around when I started trying to get all the wood loaded up into the truck. And I was actually starting to run out of light as well right as I was getting towards the end of it, so I ended up just loading a few chunks up in there in longer, like 6-foot long sections, just to get it all loaded up and get back down to the mill house before it got dark. Then the following day, I got it unloaded and chopped the rest of that down into firewood size lengths. And now I just got to get around to getting it all split and stacked so that I can burn it later on here in the wood stove. So that is as far as we're gonna get on this project for the time being. We've gotten a couple good few inches of rain here over the last week or two, and because the backwoods there, of course, it's shaded, you got a bunch of trees, and it's on a slope, it makes it really interesting to be around on the skid steer on there when it's wet and muddy. So we're gonna kind of hold off going any further on the back fence for the time being, putting in line posts or anything like that. It's a little bit too wet and muddy. But we do have plenty of other stretches of fence around here that we can work on while we're waiting on the back part to either dry out, or if it gets frozen, that would work as well. So that is gonna be it for this week's video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.